So, Clair Obscur Expedition 33 might actually be one of the most impressive games I've played in years. But I do want to be clear, it might not be for the reasons that you think. Because as much as I love this game, I don't see it as this flawless 10 out of 10 experience that I constantly hear people call it, which apparently is an unpopular opinion. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying I don't think it's a masterpiece. I'm just saying I don't think it's flawless, perfect. Because people always tend to forget that masterpiece and perfect are not mutually exclusive. And just because a game gets tagged with that word masterpiece doesn't mean it's flawless. And Clair Obscur Expedition 33 is exactly that game. Clair Obscur Expedition 33 exceeded in more ways than one, from actually making turn-based RPGs mainstream and actually getting people excited for that genre again. That alone is freaking big. But outside of the fact that Clair Obscur Expedition 33 is just a freaking well-made game, it is also just a game that represents something great. This is a game that from every frame just screams passion, made by a team that knew exactly what they wanted to create, and thanks to unfiltered creativity and raw talent, they delivered something that, honest to God, nobody was prepared for. By all accounts, Clair Obscur Expedition 33 should have failed. It's a game in a genre that frankly is not that popular. It's a brand new game in a small indie studio, and it's made from a team of people that for the most part are relatively unfamiliar with the game industry and how to make games. And yet somehow, the wildest part, they actually pulled it off with half of the budget and a fraction of the manpower that some of the biggest studios have to work with, and yet they still managed to not just meet expectations but somehow surpass them. And when you think about it like that, you just can't help but admire Clair Obscur for everything that it does right and everything that it represents. Clair Obscur Expedition 33 might not be perfect, and I stand by that. It's not. It has a decent amount of issues, which is to be expected from a brand new studio. But what Clair Obscur does prove is when you give a group of passionate and talented creators the freedom to chase a vision, you get something that is truly unforgettable. And the proof is right here with Clair Obscur Expedition 33. So chances are if you're watching this video, you probably played the game. But for the two people that didn't, for the last 67 years, a mysterious godlike entity called the Paintress appears and quite literally paints death. Writing a number on a giant monolith, the number started from 100 and has gradually been going down. And everyone whose age matches the number fades away into dust and petals. In a last-ditch effort to stop the Paintress, the people of Luminas gather up anyone willing to travel to the mainland as expeditioners to put an end to the Paintress's constant cycle of death. And we, the player, are Expedition 33, the group being sent to the mainland to put an end to the Paintress's cycle of death once and for all. But of course, nothing is ever that simple, and reveals are discovered that may make their goal way more difficult than initially thought. So right out the gate, I knew Clair was going to be great all the way back when we first heard the concept of this game. A godlike creature paints a number, and anyone whose age matches that number dies is legitimately one of the most depressingly macabre yet genius concepts I've ever heard. And as you would expect, the game does not hold back at showing the dark and bleakness of this situation. From the very opening of this game, you get an insane feeling of dread and hopelessness because you know what's coming. And the characters know what's coming, but with no way out, no way to stop it, all you can do is accept. And as to be expected, people handle situations like this very differently. Some will drink away the feelings, others will fuck away the feelings, some will take their anger and frustration out on others, and even sometimes some will rekindle what was lost. Everyone has a different way of coping with the inevitability of death, and seeing all that exposed here is just one of the many reasons why this story and these characters are so damn great. Because if you do not fear the idea of being just wiped away from existence, then you're not human, which is something I can't say for any of the leads in Expedition 33.
I am not letting Maëlle die out here. I'm taking her home. Your life, yes.
Do you still believe that? Do you still believe that?
Each member, thanks in large part to incredible performances and writing, managed to show exactly who they are and how they would handle a situation like this. And more importantly, they managed to sell us, the player, on how they are actually feeling. It makes us feel for each member so strongly, as if you are a member of the expedition yourself. And again, I gotta say, performance goes a long freaking way. Normally when I play a game, I can at least point out one or two key performances that really stand out. But here in Expedition 33, it's actually hard. It's difficult to say who gives the best performance in this game, because everyone is giving this game 130%. I don't know who is gonna be getting the nominations for best performance at the BAFTAs and the Game Award, but in my personal opinion, you can make a really strong argument for most of this cast. They all managed to bring out whatever emotion was demanded at that time, whether it was complete heartbreak, genuine fear, or the few moments of actual levity and laugh out loud moments. Because it's more than just the words, it's the little physical details that sell the characters. Like how Lune will sometimes look away during a conversation with Gustav because of pure frustration. Or Sael, Maëlle, and Lune almost losing their composure at Minoko making a doofus of himself. Or the fact that Lune tries not once, not twice, but 3 times to interrupt Gustav during an argument. It's these little details. It's those little add-ons that a lot of people probably would have taken for granted that sells these characters even more than what was already possible. That extra layer of humanity that just clutches you at the feels and doesn't let go until long after Clair Obscur is over. But you want to know what I love more than a dark and mature game? An emotionally balanced dark and mature game. Like all the best stories, it knows how to balance things out. The game is great at getting you in the feels, okay? But it's not all sadness, which I love. While this game is certainly what I would call a tragedy, it's also a game with a very important theme of finding the joy and peace in almost hopeless situations. And this game does that wonderfully. When the game actually wants to be joyous and hopeful, it has several moments of just that. Characters sitting back, talking, reminiscing, bonding over fond, happy memories. Hell, this wonderful game even has a pretty damn good sense of humor, which I love.
It's okay, we'll leave. We're just here for Flory.
So, not only are you intruding, you're here to steal? Oh my word! Humans! Well, over my dead body! Rah!
This is just a really well-balanced story that offers just about everything, and most importantly, offers it well. I mean, of course, there are some issues. I'll get to those issues later. But as a whole, the story, it's sad, it's mysterious, it's kind of scary, it's dark, it's sometimes laugh out loud funny, it's packed with several twists and turns, some a little more predictable than others, but all of them still effective. And that all leads to a finale that's just, man, just my fucking word. Clair Obscur Expedition 33 is one of the few games that actually got me. And when I say got me, I mean by the end, I was getting severely choked up, and flaws and all with Clair Obscur Expedition 33. But the fact that it managed to get that type of a reaction out of me is a testament to how heartbreaking the ending is. And the ending is also just really layered and dark. It's one of those endings where there is no real right answer. It's really more of a lesser of two evils type of ending. Okay, no, screw it. I'm actually gonna go into some spoilers. I don't think I can properly talk about the ending without going into some spoilers. Don't worry, I'm gonna leave the times. I'm gonna tell you where you guys skip to get back to the meat and potatoes of everything. But if you haven't played the game, I'm about to hard spoil the ending right now. So yeah, get ready. Here we go. All right, let's get started. So essentially the world that we've been exploring this whole time is a fucking canvas painting created by the grief of a broken family. Mael is actually Alicia, and she becomes so attached to this painted world that she decides that she wants to live in it. The choice puts her in conflict with her father, Renoir. They fight, she defeats him, but here's the real twist. We find out that the longer someone stays in it, the more of their life force is sucked out until they eventually die. Now, Verso, being the GOAT, also kind of an asshole, but mostly the GOAT, he tries his damnedest to convince Mael not to stay here, but of course she is stubborn and determined to stay in this world at all costs, and that leads to the final choice. You either fight Verso, forcing Alicia to return to the real world, saving her life, but at the cost of Lumiere and everyone in it, or you fight Mael and let Alicia stay, let her be happy, let her live out the remainder of her life in this painted world, even if it means that she is slowly letting herself die to stay in a dream. But you see what I mean? There is no right answer. The more logical choice would be to side with Verso. That way, Alicia has a chance to heal and grieve with her family properly in the real world. But the emotional weight of watching Lune and Sael and the entire world of Lumiere just fade away, fucking devastating. And that's why I love the ending. Now, admittedly, your love for the ending is really going to depend on how much you grew attached to these characters. I've heard some people say that the ending is a little rushed and cheap. But for me, the ending got me. It tackles a heavy concept and never pulls its punches. That's why I think the writing is so strong, because you can understand every character's motivations, every single one of them. Lune, Sael, Gustav, Verso, Mael. Because even if some of the characters in this game technically, and I say this with quotes, aren't real, they all feel so damn human. Their struggles, their fears, their flaws, it's all just so human. I don't know what else to say. I just really enjoyed this story. I liked how emotionally honest it was. I loved the characters. I loved the acting. I loved most of the writing. And the fact that this came from a AA game studio, I still can't believe it. But everything I just said, to the story, to the acting, all of that is great, but it's also great thanks in large part to this game's presentation. I will keep this one short because honestly, there is not much that needs to be said, but my frickin' word. Let Clair Obscur be an example of why art direction will always take precedent over sheer fidelity. Not to say it's a slouch in that department either. There's a shocking level of production value for this game that makes cutscenes for the most part look really impressive. The motion capture, the movements, the lip syncing, all just pure cinema. But what I'm talking about here is just purely the art direction. The colors, the designs, the environments left me absolutely awestruck. They all just, in lack of a better phrase, look as if I was looking at a beautiful painting. Yeah, I know, obvious, but I look at these environments and I just get lost. And that is also in large thanks to the soundtrack. I believe Clair Obscur Expedition 33 has one of the best video game soundtracks ever, full stop. It's been a long freaking time where I've been this emotionally moved by a soundtrack and this compelled to want to listen to it outside of the game. The last soundtrack to get me listening to it that bad outside of the game, the last soundtrack to get me as emotional as Clair Obscur Expedition 33 did. That goes to a little game called Near Replicant. I am saying that I believe Clair Obscur Expedition 33 is the best soundtrack I have heard in a game since Near Replicant, as far as emotional, melancholic, but still beautiful and wonderfully catchy soundtracks go. Serena's boss theme, Alicia, Mael, Lumiere, just banger after banger after banger, with one song in this soundtrack, that one goddamn song that stands above all, Renoir's battle theme. Une Via, I think I said that right. I hope I said that right. Une Via. If I got that wrong in the comments, please let me know. But I just know this one as Renoir's battle theme. That battle theme has got to be one of the most raw, badass themes I have heard in a video game in a long fucking time. I'm no musical expert. I'm trying to sound smarter than I actually am. But my point is, it just sounds amazing, and I love it. I just love it. And mind you, all from a man who started his career in this game industry on SoundCloud. I bet he never would have guessed this could possibly happen, but it did. I'm happy for him, and I am happy that now we all get to listen to an absolute bop of a soundtrack. But story, presentation, all that jazz, that is not the only thing that Clair Obscur has to offer. We also need to talk about the gameplay, which again, for what it is really freaking great. The fact that gameplay in this game, especially from this relatively inexperienced team, goes as hard as it does is really freaking impressive. Now, the actual fundamental turn-based combat isn't too changed up. It's the same back and forth strategic combat where you're aiming to target weak points, basically just do as much damage as you can in your given turn. The best way to describe the combat is that it's similar to, well, Persona, to the moves that they make, to the gun that you can use in combat. The fundamentals are all there, but Clair Obscur takes each facet of the combat and takes it just a step further to ensure that it's both engaging, more kinetic, while still maintaining its turn-based roots. Like, take your gun, for example. In a Persona game, you just point and shoot at the enemy, right? But here in Clair Obscur, you can actually aim at specific parts of the enemies. You actually have free roam of the gun. I mean, it's a small detail, but it's an appreciated one. But of course, that's just one of the very minor examples of how they change or update parts of its combat. I'm of course hinting at the best and biggest thing about the combat is its dodge and parry system. The biggest issue I have heard thrown around with turn-based RPGs is that they are boring for some who are looking for a little more action with the game. You know, something that requires a bit more actual hand movement and timing and not just brain power, which, you know, fair. I understand that people want a little more stake in their battles, like knowing that you are actually doing the action and involving more physical movement. I get it. I don't agree, but I get it. And I think Clair Obscur gets that too, which is why they added these small but significant additions to dodge and parry attacks. And I'll just cut to the chase and say that they feel great. It's incredible what such a small change can do to the overall flow of a game. Now, instead of waiting for the attacks, I can actively play a real part in deciding if I take any damage at all. And that's not even mentioning how great it feels. Like, I dodged a little bit, and it felt good, of course, but I really only used dodging ever so rarely, and I really only used it to get my timing down for certain enemy attacks, and then that's when the parry came. The parrying in Clair Obscur is easily the best part of the game, and it feels incredible. Now, is it significantly harder to parry than to dodge? I mean, sometimes, yes, the enemies pull these little fake outs that can really be like borderline unfair, but that's kind of what makes it so much more satisfying. It is complicated, yes, but like all of the best games that require a good parry or dodge, as you get your ass beat, you come back better prepared with a better understanding and better timing, and each time you slowly end up getting better and better until you start pulling off a sick string of perfect parries, leading to the always satisfying counterattacks, which are just freaking sick. In fact, one thing that Clair Obscur Expedition 33 does a great job at, it does a great job at showing how powerful you become as you progress. And I'm not just talking about the counterattacks, I'm talking about the basic attacks and combos as a whole. As per usual, you don't start the game off weak in the slightest, but you definitely have to work up to your true potential. But man, by the end game, especially when you start that new game plus, you really become an absolute unit. You will have unlocked new moves, getting the timing down with the QTEs, and then that's not even mentioning the Pictos and Luminas. So Pictos are like amulets in a sense. They give you extra power-ups and buffs that you can give to your character. You can only equip 3, but after that, that is where your Luminas come in. You can collect things in this game that allow you to increase the amount of Luminous points that you can get. And using your Luminous points, you can essentially add on the extra boost that you would get from your Pictos, and thus making you pretty damn overpowered. And as you get further and further in the game, you find better Luminous, you can apply them, and soon after you apply them, you can start battles with 1 AP or 25% increased damage at the start of your game, or if you die, that's an instant revival. And then when you upgrade them, you can start a battle where you not only start by playing twice, but you also get guard and powerful for good measure. It is honestly with the Pictos and Luminos system where things really start to get fun, because that's when moves and abilities and stats really start to stack on top of each other, and it can lead to some absolutely devastating attacks on your enemies, which is propped up even further after you get the Pictos that allows you to do over 9,999 damage. And then you're being able to pull off multiple attacks worth 100,000 or even freaking 1,000,000 damage in 1 or 2 hits. It makes you feel so overpowered, but it is just so cathartic and badass, to the point that you actively look forward to these combat encounters every single time. And that's not to say that this game isn't going to challenge you. It actually gets very tough, but the combat is so fun and rewarding that even when you get your ass kicked, you still look forward to going back and trying again and getting better and better. And then that leads to that overall great feeling of when you overcome that challenge. Clair Obscur Expedition 33's combat alone is always rewarding the player in some way, shape, or form, and I just think that is great. But all that praise, all that good stuff, but now here comes the part you guys probably don't want to hear, but has to be said. Look, Clair Obscur Expedition 33 is great. It's really freaking great, and I love this game, and I can understand where all the praise is coming from. But we also need to be a little more honest with ourselves here, and while the game is great, we actually have to take some time to talk about the problems, like actual noticeable problems that I really don't think enough people are discussing enough. And it's not even that those problems are necessarily huge, but there's still problems that really do go a decent way at holding the game back from being flawless. And for starters, I want to talk about the Pictos, which I do love. Using them in battle was never not a blast. What wasn't a blast was having to go through borderline hundreds of the damn things that you get. Yeah, you get so many of the damn things that you honestly do start to lose track. And I don't mean just a little bit, I mean to find a Pictos that I actively found just a few minutes ago and wanted to equip. It took me way longer to actually find it than to just equip the damn thing. It's because there's no real good way to organize it or to clean house. That would have been extremely helpful, but unfortunately it's not here, and the way it is now, it's just insanely freaking complicated. Secondly, this one is kind of a nitpick, but I can't stand it when games, they just feel the need, the desire to add these annoying ass forced platforming sections in a game. I don't get it. I just don't get it. Now, are the beach and platforming sections the worst thing ever or anything? Far from it. But they just don't control very well or play particularly well, with a lot of portions being fairly hard to gauge, thanks in large part to the design of the characters. So yes, doing these forced platforming sections in a game that does not need it at all, I do not like. Thirdly, so Clair Obscur obviously tried to take a page out of Persona's book and, added sort of a romance relationship option, which is cool. Always wonderful, especially with females as pretty and engaging as Lune and Sayel, and bros as loyal and dope as Minoko and Eskie. This sounds like something I should love, which is why it really bothered me to say I really didn't, only because they felt a little bare bones and honestly not paced very well at all. It's really not just the romances, it's kind of just Act 3 in general. I'm not a big fan of how it's paced. I understand that this is like something that old school JRPGs do. They push all the side quests, all the interesting stuff to that last act. I understand that that's something that old school RPGs do. I get it. But don't you think we can maybe just have like some of the modern conveniences? Because let's say somebody decides to just forego all that stuff and just go straight to the final boss. You're going to miss a lot of genuinely interesting backstory for everyone. And furthermore, if you do choose to partake in this stuff, it's kind of jarring because it kind of puts a huge wrench in the stake of the situation. It is kind of like the end of the world is potentially at stake. What are we gonna do? We're gonna finish our loose ends. We're gonna talk, take a pause, go do some side quests so I can finally get some closure on this thing. Again, and I need to be clear, I'm not saying that that's bad. I just mean having it right before the final boss. I always hate it when games do that. Like that final dump to go out and finish everything that you need to do right before the final boss. And most importantly, with all that said, the romances, they really don't go anywhere by the end game. I mean, it is a great way to learn some interesting stuff about their backstories, but I just kind of feel like if you're just gonna do that, then why not make their stories part of the main game? I appreciate that Clair Obscur didn't want to be the longest game ever. I appreciate that. But this really felt like a case where I just think it would have been better if all that was part of the main story. Number 4, the world is beautiful, but would it have killed them to add a mini-map? I mean, come on. I feel like of all the issues, this is probably the biggest issue that everybody universally agrees on. A mini-map in this game would have done wonders, or just some type of proper marker in this game. I get what the devs were going for. They wanted to add that immersion, but I'm just saying it made getting around the world so much more difficult and so much more of a hassle than it needed to be. And it made it just insanely annoying to figure out where I was, or just where I was supposed to be going, or even what the hell we're supposed to be doing. That's really about it, other than bugs, which again, even nothing major, but I had a few early game crashes too, actually. I can't forgive that. I fucking hate crashes. I noticed some lips not syncing in at the beginning, but that's about it. But do you see what I mean? A lot of what I said, I can see this being more personal, but I am certain that I'm not the only one who has had these issues, because I've heard people say the exact same thing, but it's always kind of not too many people. But again, let me be clear. It's not that these issues are the worst thing ever, but it's that they are just numerous enough that I just feel like it'd be disingenuous for me to call this game flawless, because it's just, I just can't say that it is when it's really not. But here's the thing, and this is something we need to get back to, okay? Admitting a game has flaws does not take away from everything that the game achieves. Clair Obscur is still an amazing game, point blank period, especially considering where it comes from and who made it, and that absolutely deserves recognition. But just as much, it's worth acknowledging the ways it can improve in the future. Because despite everything it gets right, Clair Obscur is just simply not flawless. But damn it, you don't need to be flawless. You don't need to be a 10 out of 10. The fact that such a tiny ass team working with a fraction of the budget managed to create something that achieves so much with this level of passion, care, polish, and pure quality on their first attempt is something that should not only be praised, but respected and welcomed with freaking open arms. I don't think it's a flawless masterpiece, but a flawed masterpiece, that is a different story. Clair Obscur Expedition 33 is one of the best games of this year, hands down. One of the best turn-based RPGs of the last decade, and fundamentally one of the most impressive games I've seen in a long time. If there was ever an underdog story, ever an example for the game industry that you don't need massive budgets or hundreds of staff to create real impactful art that can rival even the biggest games, let it be Clair Obscur Expedition 33. It is a testament to visual and audio design, with one of the most emotional and beautiful soundtracks I have ever heard, an engaging, just overall fun turn-based combat system that really makes you feel powerful the further you get, and a dark, emotional, complex, and phenomenally acted story that, while not without its flaws, sticks with you all the same. And the fact that all of this was accomplished on the devs' first real try, absolutely unbelievable. It all comes together to create a game worthy of every ounce of praise it received. A game I'm just genuinely happy exists. And I'm happy to see both the game and the devs get the love they deserve, because they've made something that shows exactly what unbridled ambition, creativity, and passion can achieve. It is just something that is beautiful to see, and I really hope a lot of games going forward take notes from Clair Obscur. The size of the dev team does not matter, but it's the talent behind it that can make gems like this. And that was my review of Clair Obscur Expedition 33. I'm so sorry this took as long as it did. I'm so sorry. But you gotta understand, man, this was such a really great game. I just wanted to do it justice. And because I've been writing down my thoughts and words and scripts since I finished the game back in April, but nothing ever felt right. And on top of that, I had issues with tech and work and a bunch of other things. So thank you so much for your patience. Now I can finally just say, what a fucking game. It really is a triumph the more that you think about it, and I'm just so happy for this dev team, man. If you enjoyed the video, like and subscribe, it helps a ton. If you want to stay up to date with what I'm doing, you can follow me on Instagram, that's @thegamercritic. Be good people, and I will talk to all of you very soon. All right, peace.